Our next speaker is an avid supporter of the rights of the individual in the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. He is currently serving his first term as state senator for Connecticut's 16th district, which includes parts of Southington, Wolcott, Cheshire, Prospect, and Waterbury. He's the Senate Republican whip and serves on various committees. He is the founder of the Connecticut General Assembly's Conservative Caucus and the champion of conservatism. State Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Minnie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for the CTRA, thank you to the CTRA, rather, for having me today. And thank you for everyone that stuck around, unlike the summer soldiers that took off because the day got kind of long. I'm just teasing. There's a good crowd here, and I was very impressed when I walked in today and saw how many people were in this room. And just watching this organization grow and our movement to move the Connecticut Republican Party to the right as much as possible. And I've been watching that grow over the last 10 years that I've been involved very closely. Forgive me that I feel like this microphone's too far from me. Over the last couple of weeks since I was asked to speak here, I've been trying to decide what I wanted to talk about. And I figured, you know what, everyone here is going to be conservative Republican, intelligent people in their own right. And what can I talk to these folks about that they don't already know? So I thought we might talk about some of the problems that we face as conservatives and some ideas and suggestions that I have on how to improve the Republican Party as a whole and what our course of action might be. So the very first thing I want to talk about, which is always an elephant in the room when it comes to a meeting of Republicans of any size, and that is everyone knows that there is a huge divide in our party. And I think most of the people in this room probably come from the perspective that much of our elected representation and many of our RTCs and a lot of fellow Republicans that we bump elbows with at various events have lost their way. And they don't stand for the founding principles of this country or the Republican Party that we do. And I think that's the reason why CTRA exists itself, is to move people in that direction. And there's a lot of examples. You can look back to what happened after the terrible tragedy at Sandy Hook, where you had the Republican leader in both the House and Senate essentially side with the Democrats and abandon our principles and our Constitution in favor of a political solution. It was very disappointing and probably the most difficult time I had in my entire political career, standing up not just against Democrats but against Republicans, something I don't ever want to be in that position of doing again. There was a lot of talk today about the Trump effect in 2016 and 2018, and you saw a lot of candidates across this state, Republican candidates, some of them embracing Trump, some of them outright bashing Trump. We can't conduct elections like that and expect to succeed. And then finally, just one final example, and that is this so-called bipartisan budget that was passed in 2016, which was a terrible thing because essentially what happened is we gave up the strength that we had when we passed the Republican budget with no taxes, and of course holding basically the Democrats in the worst position they've ever been in, where they could not pass their own product, and they were about to come to the table, in my mind, to support our budget, and we gave it all away. The governor vetoed it, and our leadership decided to go back to the drawing board and do a budget with the Democrats. Pass this terrible new budget with $1 billion in taxes, bailing out Hartford and everything else. A huge, huge mistake. And especially a mistake because what it did is it prevented Republicans from being able to go after Democrats for their crappy budget in the next cycle. So here I am, I want to go after them, and I can't because I'd be going after my colleagues. We should never be in a position like that. So the question is, how did it get to be this way? And I would submit that the people that are not in the conservative wing of the Republican Party fit into two groups. There are people, first, that maybe aren't even educated on what our principles are or don't believe them at all. They ended up in Republican politics for some other reason. And that's a problem with education, and I think that we can work on that together. But the other group is the one that concerns me more, and that's the people that actually know better. But they believe that Connecticut is just a blue state. Can't win in Connecticut, it's a blue state, we have to moderate our position. No, we don't. Yeah, and what happens is that divides our party in a way that makes it very, very destructive. We end up in the same position we've been cycle after cycle. So what we need to do is to educate both of those groups, and we need to cite examples to them to show them that we can win and that our principles do have value. I believe that our principles as Republicans are American principles in essence. Freedom and opportunity and limited government. That's what the country is founded on, that's what the Republican Party is, and I think that sells everywhere. In the cities, in the towns, and for people of all ages. It's just a matter of conveying that message with passion and in a way that shows that you actually believe in it with enthusiasm, which I will get to in a minute. Me in particular, I am a perfect example. One of the things that annoys me more than anything is when people say, well, yeah, Sampson, you can get away with that because you're from a red district. Well, yes, my district is a red district today. But 10 years ago, when I ran for office, it was not a red district. The town of Woken was run completely by Democrats. They had a Democrat council. The mayor's an independent, but he's really a Democrat. We had a Democrat state representative, Corky Mazur, and not only was he a Democrat who was in office for 4 terms, he was a popular Democrat. He beat the last Republican candidate 90% to 10% in the cycle before me. And when I ran for office, one of the first people I met was Joe Markley, because he was running for state senate. And he said, Rob, you don't want to do that. You can't win that seat. Are you crazy? And of course, I was too dumb to listen. So eventually I won. And ever since then, that district has been trending more and more Republican. The Senate seat that I serve in right now, and that Joe Markley served in before me, the 16th Senate District, you know who else served in this Senate seat? Christopher J. Markley. So if that kind of change can happen in my state rep seat, in this state Senate seat, I believe it can happen everywhere. And of course, I recognize it's a heavier lift in Fairfield County, where no one has even been talking about Republican principles for a long, long time. And I know we had the urban panel here talking about how to win in the cities, and I agree with much of what they said. They have special issues in the cities. One of the things that was most important about what was mentioned is the community leaders. I think that that is something that you don't have in most towns, but if you go into Bridgeport, New Haven, you will find that there are church leaders and there are community leaders that have a lot of sway over the electorate. And those people are very difficult to even get a conversation with. Let's look at Trump. I have my own opinions about Trump and about whether or not he's actually putting forth a lot of Republican values. And I'm afraid that he's actually redefining the Republican brand in a way, and we should all be very cognizant of whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing going forward. But my point is that, can you imagine during the Bush or Obama years anyone doing the things that Trump does? Like, the flag is everywhere. It's Yay America, it's America First. It is patriotism on steroids, and I love that. Patriotism is the key ingredient in what it means to be a Republican more than anything. So in that respect, I love Trump. And I love the fact that he is unafraid. And I'm going to talk more about what makes him successful that we can emulate. But it's just an example that things can change. We can change the attitude of the people around us by constantly getting our message in front of people. And that's what Joe Markley did before me in the state senate, and that's what I'm doing. We are in the newspapers every week so that the people that we represent are actually exposed to what the Republican version is, what the idea is. If they never hear it for year after year after year, yes, it's a lot. We need people that are unafraid to put those ideas in front of people. So I want to talk about campaigns for a minute too, because I believe that campaigns and the way they are run is both a symptom of this divide that exists in our party, and it's also partly the cause. Targeting, okay, so everybody knows about targeting in campaigns, which is where we try and dissect the voters and put them into different categories and figure out how we're going to talk to them. These are brilliant, brilliant ideas, and obviously you have to do targeting to run an effective campaign because you have limited resources. But I run into campaigns who will say things right out of the gate like, well, we're not going to talk to waste our time talking to Republicans because they're already voting for us. And then I'll talk to another candidate, and they'll say, well, I'm not going to waste my time talking to the Democrats because they're not voting for us. Well, my advice to both of them is that you got to waste your time talking to someone. Conventional wisdom, I think, in the Republican Party in Connecticut is that we talk to likely voter Republicans, likely voter unaffiliates. I think that's a great idea. And with my urging and other people over the last 10 years, I think we've actually convinced most campaigns and the state party to recognize that we should be talking at least to older Democrats. And those are good things. And I think that's a good strategy. And a lot of campaigns have been won on that strategy, including mine. But a word of caution, if we're only talking to likely voter U's and R's and only some older D's, there is a whole bunch of people we are not talking to. And those people are being talked to every day by our education system, by the news media. They're getting the Democrat version of things. We have to talk to them in some way, shape, or form. I'm trying to keep this comments as brief as I possibly can. The next thing I want to just say is about the middle. I keep hearing people refer to the middle in campaigns. And everybody gets that. You know, we have a Republican base and we have a Democrat base. Well, there's an assumption that everyone else is in the middle. Well, I'm here to tell you there is no middle. We have to stop thinking like that. The danger of thinking like that is that Republican candidates will try and moderate their position to snag some of that middle. And in the process, what they do is they end up pissing off the people over on the right. It's dangerous because it's not even true. There is no middle. If there's any other voters besides the Republican and Democrat base, it is people that are just disinterested, in my opinion. And they can be anywhere on the political spectrum. They can be far left or far right or have no idea. But they are certainly not the middle. So trying to talk to them that way is ridiculous. The way campaigns are won, and the reason I mentioned Trump before, is one word: enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is what wins campaigns. Trump gets people enthusiastic about him, and he continues to do that over and over and over again, and he gets more and more devout followers who are trying to go out and make more devout followers. That's what wins campaigns, even on a state level, is your base loving you to the point where they are willing to go and drag their co-workers and their friends out to vote for you. If they're disinterested because you're wishy-washy and you don't know where you stand on Trump, or you voted for gun control as a Republican, you're not going to have volunteers. You're not going to have people enthusiastic about your campaign. And I can't express that with more passion than what I feel to my bones on that subject, because I've watched it over the last 10 years. I've watched good candidates screw up their future because they made a bad vote, because they were worried about what would people think, who don't even care, when they should have been worried about the people that do care. Okay. So how do you build enthusiasm as a Republican candidate in Connecticut? It's a very difficult thing to do, obviously, because our brand is damaged in many, many ways for a lot of the reasons I just mentioned. And I worked very hard to build my brand over the last 10 years by being consistent and reliable, and people know what I'm going to do. And it wasn't always so easy. There's people back at home in my district who are still like, well, he's going to screw up next year. But slowly but surely, some of those really tough to please conservatives that have a natural distrust of government have come around to respecting the fact that I'm going to do my job correctly. The way Trump does it is the way we should all be doing it if we're running Republican campaigns, and that is, he is giving Republicans the one thing they want more than anything else. Does anyone know what that is? Sure. He is a fighter.
Yes.
That is what our base wants more than anything. They want someone to fight for what we believe in. And the more you fight, the better off you're going to be. Am I getting hairy eyeball in? All right, so let me just finish by just talking like 1 minute about messaging. And it's just, I want to remind everybody that our party is the party that believes in freedom and opportunity. We are the ones that believe in individuality and tolerance of different cultures. cultures and beliefs. The Democrats want to have people believe that somehow the party switched more time, and that is absolutely not true. There was a lot of talk about urban voters and minorities up here. I believe civil liberties is the key to talking to those populations, to remind them that it's the Republican Party that is the party of all men are created equal, that our party is the party of abolition, our party is the party of Abraham Lincoln. And every time they try and throw the racism card at us, why we're not jumping all over them to remind them it's the Democrats that have stood in the way of all civil rights throughout history is beyond me. And that's just one example of how you can fight. And I would love to share more with you, but I guess I got